what I thought we'd do today is kind of go through, we've got 11 proposals. I don't know if anyone had any others that they didn't get to me or they didn't turn in. So I thought we'd go through each proposal. I don't know do we want to write the proposal up on a board or just all look at them and write our pros and cons down on the sheet?
Just write one.
Okay. So I literally labeled them 1 through 11. We got 11, so thank you everyone for putting the work in on that. Literally just start with proposal number 1. They're not numbered in any order of favorite or least favorite.
Yeah.
I know who sent which proposal, so I try to keep them close together. So if we go with proposal 1, we have 2 buildings to close, Potters and Winchester. And when we mean close, we mean shut them down as elementary schools. Most of Potters would go to Northwood. All of Winchester would go to Northwood. That would allow West Middle to become grades 5 through 8, and the central administration office would move to either Winchester or Ebenezer, depending on what we see once we research a little, which would work better. And the reason being is obviously everyone sees it saves money in maintenance of Potters, saves money in human resources, principals, nurses, clerks, custodians. And that's basically where we're not going to save money by selling buildings. We're not going to make millions of dollars off of selling buildings. That's really where the concept comes in of even mothballing a building, and I think we're going to find out from some people how much it costs to keep a building mothballed. Again, Winchester's got a good roof, so mothballing a building like that, all you got to do is keep it from freezing, make sure everything is winterized, kind of like you do with your camper. I mean, unfortunately, you still got to mow lawns and you still got to do stuff like that. So we're going to have Joe Farr and the other people come to a meeting and work on that.
They're coming at the net. They'll be the business people, and which will be Jan Lewandowski and Brian Schultz, and human resources, which will be Pat Phelan and Beth Johnson will be here at the next meeting,
okay.
And they'll be talking about exactly what the numbers are going to look like human resource wise, and then they'll also give us some information regarding closing buildings as far as saleable. They're going to have some estimates and things like that. Okay. They were unable to attend tonight's meeting, but they'll be at the next meeting.
And that might work out too, because a lot of people
right, as well as Ann Bonicelli will be at the next meeting to talk about how it will impact programming, and also to address a 5-8 concept of just, I know there were some people that were asking for some pros of, like a little bit more information on what makes a 5-8 building that much better. So okay. She'll be here to address those things that night also.
Okay, so that's proposal 1.
Most of Potters goes to Northwood. Where's the other part of Potters go?
Come down to St. Hill.
Yeah, okay.
Are we going to write the pros and cons right on the sheet, Corey? Would you just give me a copy?
Sure.
Since I can't write and stand.
Yeah.
I can barely write. So this one here, do we want to talk about some pros and cons of it? You had a question also? I'm sorry.
It was the same question.
Same question, Amy?
The same question.
Same question? Okay.
I think one of the things that we need to look at, when I went through, and I really spent a lot of time looking at current numbers, and I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that we want to bring our buildings, all of them, to more of an equitable number for all of our students. When we look at right now, like a Westell, for example, or a Clinton Street, like 634, 577, they're running with a lot of same essential personnel, and then we get to our lower end buildings of numbers, and I think one of the things that we need to really look at is, can we afford the luxury anymore of running a building with personnel for that few of students? I think we need to think about that.
So
I don't think it needs to drive it all together, but I think that we need to to look at that, and we need to try to bring those numbers of the elementary schools more to more equitable numbers.
So how would you list it as a con? Would a con to that?
No, it's a plus.
A pro for closing it would be you can better
equitable.
allotment of staff. Okay.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if we just want to start listing Bob?
Lisa, when you're talking about enrollments in the schools,
Mm-hmm.
Buildings are of different sizes and different capacities, so should we be talking about percentage of capacity rather than
We
equal
could.
numbers?
We could, absolutely. I think
Yeah,
the thing that I guess that struck me when I've never really, I've always known what the numbers are of my son's own buildings, but I've never really looked at the numbers of other buildings. And what really struck me was just I think one of the pros for me is that I want to make I want our children to have equity across the board, which means access to people. If you've got a building of 634, how much time does that child get in the principal world compared to when you have 287?
Absolutely.
That's what the equity piece that I was talking about.
And I agree, we have to be careful about that, because you can say, let's put 500 kids in every building, but then you're going to have some buildings that have classes that are huge and some that have classes that are smaller, simply because of the number of rooms you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's...
And we're seeing that, we often see that right now with the buildings that we have right now. We'll often say, well, they have 40 kids or 50 kids, in a grade level, so of course they need 2 or 3 sections. Do you know what I mean? Where if you have 80 kids, and it's just different because of the different numbers.
Right.
And we always have those bubbles, those infamous bubbles.
Some other pros, obviously, better allotment of staff. Again, we're saving on maintenance. We're saving on utility costs. We are saving on repairs to certain buildings. Obviously, Potter's is the big one. I know Lisa and her roof. Again, close Potter's and mothball it, we still have leaking roof issues. So I think if we're going to have proposal number 1, I'm assuming that one of the pros would be that we can sell Potter's. A pro would be that we could use Winchester for another purpose. We could use it for, as we talked about, pre-K or district offices. It's a building that still can be viable in the district. We have any other cons that maybe we're not, or pros that we're not addressing for this?
Well, in a sense, a pro. I think through most of these, we're talking about Potter's and Winchester in some form or another.
Okay.
Those have historically been West schools. So if we're going to be sending them to Northwood or some other area which has been traditionally an East Side school, that's going to help erase those East and West thought processes.
Okay.
So I think
So
that could be
a pro for that would be kind of eliminating the divide
right.
that is created by Union Road.
Yes.
See, I voted to actually close Union Road and just dig that up, but that's not working. So.
Well, we haven't been Union Road in a while.
What's it called?
No, but I mean as far as a
okay.
dividing line.
You thought it was Union Road?
I know of a lot of people we should still work.
So, any other pros that we want to throw out there that are not on this sheet? How about some cons?
Longer time on the bus.
Longer time on the bus. For the cons for closing any school, or
Yeah.
closing Potter's and Winchester?
Well, both of these ones, those kids are going to be on the bus longer and be not in the classroom as long. Or
Traveling to Northwood?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Longer bus ride. And again, we're not debating, we're going to look into this, whether we can look at bus times.
Right.
I'm not, we can run through that. Pro for a con. I'm going to throw it out there. A con for closing Winchester is one of the few schools that has the cafeteria, the auditorium. It's a true small community school. That's coming as a Winchester parent, not the chair of the committee, but I think that's a good pro. We've all been in the school.
So
and we all enjoy
that's, so
the
you're
tour.
putting that as.
I'm sorry.
I'm going, why is he saying that's a con?
It's a con for closing it. I apologize for my ignorance on.
No, no, you said it was a con, and then.
Okay.
I was like,
it's a good
no,
thing for
it's a good
Winchester.
thing.
It's a con for closing Winchester. Anyone wanna, anything, other reason why?
You're dividing the Potter's kids into two different places.
Okay. Potter's kids are being divided. Okay. And that's a little subnote to that last discussion. I think Holly was explaining that there are different subgroups of Potter's kids now, so that may not be a really, that's.
Personally, I don't think it's a bad thing, and I'm a Potter's parent. But
Okay. Are there
I
truly-
think there might be parents who would feel that that was a big issue.
Okay.
But there is a divide, I will say.
I'm not sure if a con for this proposal would be, can we sell to either building? Or what would we do with the buildings that are sold?
Bless you.
Where I think it's been said that we can sell Potters, it's not a guarantee. A con for this proposal, what would you do with Winchester? I think another con would be closing 2 schools on that quarter of the town in the same year. I think is not necessarily a good thing. And the only other con I'm going to throw out there is there's a charter school opening up 4 minutes from Winchester, and we don't want to have to send our kids there. Not that I would. I know that's been a
It's a really
discussion.
nice school.
What?
It's a really nice
Yeah,
school.
I mean, the people around the Winchester area that are talking about the school, like, you would think that they had some sort of personal tour. I didn't know about it until I think Brian told me about it. So that would be a con. Any others for proposal 1? I'd like to try to spend just a few minutes on each proposal. Anything?
Ed, could you just explain the con about the South Buffalo Charter School? Because I didn't.
Oh, I just heard people telling me what a great school it is, and we don't want to have people not say, I don't want to go to Northwood, I'm going to put my kid there. I didn't know they were eligible to go there. But come with discussions, people apparently think they can go there. Is that?
So, do you guys understand how the charters work?
Now I'm just going to ask if you could
Sure.
elaborate.
So, Bob and Brian and I could get together and open up a charter school. So the 3 of us would get together, we'd come up with some ideas, we would have to fill out some paperwork with the state. No, it's extensive paperwork. We might have a theme for our charter school, maybe it's something related to real estate and athletics, okay? We're the real estate and athletic charter school, okay? We would put together a proposal, we would have some community meetings, and then the state would decide whether or not to grant a charter. If they granted us a charter, any citizen within the Western New York area could apply to come to our charter school. So let's pretend that our charter school was in South Buffalo, West Seneca, Lancaster, Lackawanna, Buffalo kids could apply to come to our charter school. So just because a charter school is located in one community doesn't prohibit it from accepting children from all communities. Okay, and then we would set the tuition rate, and all 3 of us would agree. Let's pretend $11,000 a year is what we would charge any of those districts whose children come to us. We would charge those districts that tuition. Okay. So, Ed's bringing up a point about this, charter school that's being built on Ogden Road. It's there, and anybody in the communities around that school, Cheektowaga, Sloan, West Seneca, Buffalo, could send their children there regardless if we close the school or not. And then the district is responsible for paying that tuition.
And transportation?
If the 3 of us decided to offer transportation, then those districts would provide transportation. Yeah.
So as this charter school,
Yeah.
you're a parent, you say, okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. You could turn around and say, okay, it costs you $10,000 or $11,000 to go to this charter school. and then I say, okay, I'm gonna put my kid in a charter school. West Seneca foots the bill, because I'm in a West Seneca school district, for my full tuition plus my transportation to and from the school.
That's correct. And
How
so
about we start this charter school. Get this off the ground.
Right. So I guess I just
Working
wanted,
better premise.
as Ed brings it up as a con, it is a con, but it's a con no matter what. You know, if we don't act as a district and do nothing, we submit no recommendations, it's still a con because it's right on the border and people are going to notice it and wonder, how do we apply to that school, or are we allowed to? Bob?
Brian, do we have many West Seneca students at Global Concepts?
Yes. Yes, we do. Our number of students isn't as great as one would think, but we do pay a significant amount of tuition to various charter schools.
Are we allowed as a district to cap that amount?
No.
So if one charter school said it costs $25,000 for the kids at this charter school,
I'm sure
the district would pay
I'm sure the
20.
state has some kind of formula that says you know there's got to be some kind of cap. I'm sure.
You can
if
ask
we're, if we're charging
like,
$50,000,
say there was three different ones in the area,
Yeah.
one was 10, one was 12, one
Yeah.
was 14,
Yeah.
and someone chose the 14 one.
Sure.
The district is required to pay the 14, it's not, well, the average is
And
12,
the
that's what we pay.
other negative or con to that too, Brian, is then that's 10,000, 14,000, 20,000, whatever it is, taken out of our budget.
Right.
So, you know, we don't, you know, all of a sudden if you get 20 kids or 30 kids or whatever that are going to those charter school, that's a significant tap on our
And
budget.
I'm gonna add to that, the numbers are still in our budget. So if we have a whatever $1 million budget, the numbers the money we're paying is still, so it looks like West Seneca, what's our budget?
Right.
108 million.
108 million. So, oh my God, 108 million. Well, Brian just started a charter school, it's $1 million per student. You know what I mean? Like, so those numbers still make our budget high, and we're not even having the benefit of having the kid.
But I mean, any kid, you know, it could be any kid anywhere within the school district that could choose to go to that.
Right.
That charter school.
Sure. Somebody on the east side
You
of
know,
town could choose that.
somebody from Clinton could
No.
decide they wanted to
Right.
go there,
Is
and we
there
get stuck
any-
paying for it.
Data out there, like when a school closes a school, is there anything that says a
That-
certain amount of kids go to charter schools?
No.
Or private.
Or,
Yeah. So the thing that we talked about last week, how we were closing last week's meeting, was the district wants to be as strong and fiscally healthy as possible. So might there be a risk of children or families saying, okay, we're angry that you closed your school, and we're going to go to, Queen of Heaven, or we're going to go to wherever. That might happen. I mean, I don't have a statistic that would say the percentage of that. But ultimately, the goal is to make us healthy and strong and as really as fiscally responsible, but as fiscally strong as we can. And if closing a school helps us in that path, then we can provide the services, the programming in other areas. So there's always going to be, I'm not critiquing this as a con. I'm just trying to
It's like
say,
brainstorming.
I'm just trying to
So-
say it
Would we
could
have
be a
any
con.
numbers from, like, when East Elementary closed? Did we see a big influx of children leaving because do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, what I was wondering is when some of those private schools, the parochial schools closed, did we get an influx of students?
I can tell you Queen of Heaven is up to 380.
Yeah.
And this is really important for this committee to understand, that Queen of Heaven is bigger than Potters, bigger than Winchester, bigger than Northwood, and so they got healthier.
Oh,
But
yeah. They
14
stuck
Holy
together.
Helpers is closed, Sacred
Yeah.
Heart is closed,
Yeah.
St. Vincent's
But we
is
did
closed.
not
No,
benefit from those
no.
closings, you don't feel?
We got some, yeah. Oh, we absolutely got some, yeah.
Not nice.
Any other reasons against this proposal before we move on to the next one?
I got a pro.
Bro, okay.
The thing is that, again, I happen to be the cold-hearted guy on the committee here all the time.
You're not the only one, don't worry.
As a friend of mine says, if you're gonna eat a frog, do it at once. Just do it as quick as you can.
pull that Band-Aid.
This whole thing has been flowing towards, we need to save money, we need to close buildings, we need to redistrict. This does it all in one shot. One shot, boom, gone. We go through a short period of time with upset parents, kids who readjust faster than their parents. You're done. for several years. That's the way I see the proposal. I've been breezing through the other proposals. Some of them say committee reconvenes, committee reconvenes, committee reconvenes. We're just prolonging the inevitable by many of the other proposals here. I mean, the truth of the matter is Winchester is going to close at some particular point. Whether it's next year, 3 years from now, Potter's is going to close. It needs to be fiscally responsible. You have to do it just at once, do the heavy impact.
Band-Aid.
Just rip it off.
That's a pro.
And let's go. And then
Pro is
let everybody
done.
settle in, and then we have a long-term solution.
Well, the sad part is, again, we still, we still need to work at other stuff. So get the Band-Aid, get this done, and then consider 4 or 5 years from now the next step. So pro, like a Band-Aid. I mean, that's any other pros or cons before we move on? Bueller?
I agree with Dan on that one. I think that, I think that is a really good pro in the fact that if you do, like right now you got people that are finally over the east out part of it. Now you got this part coming up, and people, if it's constantly every couple of years something's going on, it just gives people an uneasy feeling. If you make the big jump and, you do it all at once, then people will, and there's no change, I think that just gives people the confidence again. So I agree with that one.
When we had our last closure, there was some exceptions made. The kids could stay where in the track where an older sibling was, or something like that. We can't deny that coming up.
Yeah, that's probably a con that needs to be fully developed. If after we do all this exercise and we start whittling things down, we need to have a subcommittee or this committee look at that piece. What happens to the kids that are in 6th grade, or 7th grade? Do they stay on the west side? Those are the things that we need to flesh out. That's a good point.
I think that's a really strong point, Bob, because you could very easily have parents that could have kids, with middle schoolers on the east and west side, so that will be something that we'll need to look at and figure out when.
Kevin was saying that like two different buses are going to have to go down lots of streets. Because like if I have kids at the high school, middle school, and elementary school, like I might want them to, so, but that would be more, if we're going to go through with this proposal, then we would look into.
But I would agree with Bob that I think that's a strong con. It's a strong con in the sense that that needs to be developed. That plan needs to be fully developed.
Okay.
And then maybe it turns into a pro. But I think that it's worthy of dissection.
You have a family already building an allegiance to a certain middle school.
Yep.
And you think that that's going to continue when you want it to continue, and then we shift gears on it.
In the past, it hasn't. We know that too. So we got to decide whether we want it to continue or not. Whether it get Band-Aid effect, just be done with it. Kids, you're done. You're going east. That would be something we would look into as a subcommittee, maybe, or researching that.
Yeah, because one of the things that could happen is the whole balancing act could get thrown out of whack with all the people's decisions. If a whole bunch of people decide I'm going to stay on the west track, then the whole point of the redistricting, you come up with this thing, okay, we even everything out. Oh, wait a second, there's 200 kids here now, just threw it all out of whack.
You're right about that.
First 50 get their choice.
Lottery. I don't know.
That was the, like, I know looking at live numbers, Kevin did a lot of stuff to try to figure out how do you get east and west even. And I would think that's one of the goals of the subcommittee is that you would have to find a way that limit as much as possible so that the evenness comes about. So
that's a parent going to tell you they want to stay with us.
Hey, Eric.
I just wanted to throw a point out. Every proposal has a school closing, so this is not something. We can't say that as a con. It's a reality. So that is something that's going to be a reality. So there definitely will be a subcommittee discussing this track issue. So regardless of anything, I don't think, I wouldn't consider it a con. I would consider it, that's going to be the next step after, it's determined what proposal we're going to recommend. We're going to have to put that together with the recommendation is how is this reality going to be put in motion.
I would almost throw out there if the proposal's made the school board say they follow proposal 1 and they do this, then that's when we need to start getting together and decide, okay, how's it going to be implemented?
Right.
You know, and then that would be
A recommendations for implementation, yeah.
So,
But I
and
don't
then
want.
taking that off the con list then?
I would leave it on the con list,
Okay.
because, but what we could do is some of these cons are actually going to be with
Okay.
a majority of them across. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
2?
Yep, yep.
Total cool in
Yeah,
mind?
yeah, give them.
Okay, so number 2 is Potter's closes. Winchester becomes an east flowing school. Most of Potter's goes to Northwood. That allows West Middle to become grades 5 through 8, which again is something we decided has to be in all the proposals. Central administration building is moving, which we decided has to be in all the proposals. In this case, it's going to Ebenezer. And again, the money saving issues are listed. And the big thing listed here is it preserves programs in all the buildings. So again, I will start with pros for proposal number 2.
Where are the rest of Potter's going again? Allendale again?
Yes.
Okay.
Allendale again. Sorry, and if I deleted something
No,
from
I
here, I
think I did
apologize.
right.
No, it's okay, I just wanted to make sure.
This was
Well, I think, is it again, Potter's is split, I mean, are a lot of these, could we just start going through these?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
some of these
that's-
pros and cons are gonna be the same.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You had your hand raised?
I was just gonna ask
Same thing?
that.
Okay. So yeah, this again, a pro for this. Any other pros other than what's listed?
I'm not quite sure where everything's located
Okay.
because I just focused on where my kids go to school.
Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Winchester is a little closer to Northwood distance-wise than the kids that go to Potter, or
I think
not?
so. Potter's is located at the corner of Orchard Park Road and Orchard Park.
Potter's
It's
Road.
like a
Potter's Road.
So right near
Um,
where
Winchester.
Cops-
So
So-
you would, yeah, you would literally be
So
driving
the travel time would be a
diagonally,
little
yes,
further.
to
Okay,
Northwood.
so that could be a con.
Yeah.
They're going a little
Travel time's
further
a
than,
con.
you know, other kids
Yeah,
would.
so if we want to throw pros and cons out at the same time, I'm cool with that. Like, sir?
I got a con. One of
Okay.
your cons is gonna be the direction of travel. Kids from Potter Road going to Northwood are gonna drive right by Winchester School.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that actually
And
came
you're
up
gonna
last
have
week.
parents going, why are we hopping?
Right.
If there's empty space in Winchester, why are we driving by it?
Actually, it says most of Potter's goes in Northwood. Did any of the kids go to Winchester on this proposal? Not that I want to
No.
assume it's
No.
yours, but.
Right.
Okay, so con, obviously travel time, driving by Winchester, which I think you brought that up last week too. Pro,
Just out of curiosity, when we look at some of these, is it possible on these proposals that we tweak them? So you
Yeah.
look at this and you say like,
what I'm hoping to get from this is we're gonna go through these proposals and then come up with 4 or 5 proposals that we want to actually follow through with now. My goal at the end of the meeting will be to have someone take charge, ownership of each proposal, and then get a few people to meet with them and work on researching it so we can be prepared for the next meeting.
okay, cause like that point there, it'd be like maybe someone looked at this proposal and goes, okay, well, we got Potter's kids going to Northwood and Allendale, well, what if we took the Potter's kids and put them in Winchester? You know, why do they have to go to Northwood? You
Right.
know, that's what I'm wondering, like,
This
when
is just-
people go through that, that's something
Right.
that they can do.
Yep, and that's why I'm giving everyone the floor that sent me the proposals. I want to make sure they're all put out there, so,
I think the big con for this too would be that whole enrollment equity, because with this, if I'm reading this correctly, Winchester's receiving no kids, so they're staying at, below 300.
right.
So,
You're right. Yeah.
I think the kind of this one is what's the future of Winchester with this one? You know, Winchester's kind of being phased out slowly with this.
You ever tried this one?
That's what it looks like to me. It just seems like Winchester
I
is
think-
sticking where they are.
It's like
What it
hanging
was,
on a
180, I
thread.
think
Yeah.
was the figure we had on the last one, which is far lower than everybody else. And
And the question's gonna be from the parents, from Potters, is why are you closing our school and they have less kids
Yes,
at Winchester?
Absolutely.
yeah, that's.
Because
That would
Potter's
be
is
my
more
question.
sellable than Winchester.
Yep. I mean, why are you busing my kid all the way across town?
Right.
Past the school that has less kids?
I think last week this proposal was pretty beat up too, but
Yeah.
any other pros or cons we want to worry about this one?
back to, actually, I just thought of one on proposal 1. My con on that one is, what are we doing with Winchester?
Right.
Well, one of
With
the,
proposal 1.
With-
We kind of had.
back to proposal 1, one of the
That's
options
central
is
administration.
central administration moves to either Winchester.
Oh,
or
Winchester or Ebenezer, okay.
So,
Gotcha.
and you'll see farther on, I believe there's one in there where Winchester's used as the pre-K or Winchester's used as administrative offices. So like there's again, when we're looking at sellable buildings, we need to look into it. But if Winchester closes as an elementary school, it still will probably be used as a different building, say administration. Instead of going to Ebenezer, they can go there. Yes, sir.
What are the space requirements for administration? I mean, would they be bouncing around Winchester and tight in Ebenezer? Or
I think
is
that's something
Ebenezer-
that we can find out
Ebenezer
some
more
information on.
appropriate and it's way more than they need in Winchester? Or?
It's a question, I think Joe Farrell will help us
Yeah,
answer.
Joe
that
Farr can
question.
help us into that. Cool, so let me just throw this one to the side. Any other fun with that one? Okay, proposal 3. Potters closes, surprise. Winchester becomes an east flowing school. All of Potters goes to Northwood. Did I double print this?
No, that's what I saw.
Allows West Middle to become grades 5 through 8. Central administration moves to Ebenezer.
That could also be Winchester.
What?
No, never mind. No, you're right. You're good.
Okay,
Yep.
so, Potters closes, what am I missing here? How's this different
It
than the
just
other one?
It's just
All
all
of Potters is going to Northwood.
Oh, okay. Okay, do we want to even just copy all the,
Yeah.
was there,
It's pretty much the
Pretty
same,
much the same?
and Winchester is once again a small school, the equity thing.
Right.
and these are not my proposals. I just want,
No,
I don't mean to blow through them. I just don't, it seems very similar. So, we cool with just moving on from that one?
Yeah.
I won't be offended. Proposal 4. Yes, sir.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah.
I've been in Winchester building for various events, and they seem to use most all the space in that building, don't they?
I mean, if it had full enrollment, yes. If we move grades 5 out, I'm not sure.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Now, could the administration and Winchester Elementary operate there?
No.
Oh, no, we don't
The
want to.
reason
want
we're
it.
pulling them from
Safety
here is to
issue.
get away from the kids.
Crazy parents.
So now, I'm going to throw something out there though. Winchester can easily be divided into 2 separate buildings when we're looking at, say, pre-K at Winchester, or, no? If we're looking at pre-K at Winchester and, say, administration, that Winchester can be cut right in half, security-wise, my opinion. I don't, that's not on one of my proposals, but you might know Winchester well enough. It's literally got one doorway dividing the school in half. So that could be an option. It's not on these, but that could be something to consider. If you know, we want to look at them for district offices. So proposal 4, you guys want me to, grades 5 are moved to middle school. That's something that we all agreed on. District offices are moved to Ebenezer. Potters is closed and sold, or is closed and considered to be sold. Potters Road students are split between Winchester and West L, and the commission continues to reevaluate district configuration. And I know this proposal was put together based on the fact that we literally have to have a recommendation within a month-ish, right, September? Present to the October meeting.
Yeah.
So this proposal gives us time to get the one thing that needs to be done, save some money right away, and then in October, November, maybe look at, you know, and I know in meetings we've had, it could be a 1-2 year program, so questions?
How are
comments?
we fitting the 5th grade into the middle school?
That's my question.
Yeah. Are we buying trailers for them?
We've done that all along here.
There's like
If
no room in
If nobody goes to East Side, there's no way to fit the 5th graders at West Meadow.
I would agree with that.
I think maybe let me see, am I missing something on here?
Because you're all the West kids are still
Winchester
West kids.
becomes an East school. That probably, you guys want to write that in here. That, I may have not written that part. If the person who wrote this wants to speak
So
up. they can.
Potters and Winchester technically are both still becoming an East school.
Yes,
Well, not really, half of Potters, because half of Potters is still
Right.
here.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pros, cons?
I don't think you can fit all, I still don't think even with that, you could fit all of grade 5 in the middle school, all of the grade 5s in the middle school.
Well, let's take a look. If I understand this correctly, Potters and Winchester flows to the east side.
Yes.
But Potters just moves into Winchester.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would work because.
How is
Half
Potters?
of Potters.
The majority of Potters could fit into Winchester, correct?
Right.
Probably.
Yeah.
But then,
It would be a little tight if everybody went in.
yeah.
I don't understand.
So instead of Potter's going to Northwood, they're going to Winchester, and some are
they're not
some are
driving
still some are still
Right.
going to West Elm or Annandale. So yeah, so think about Winchester has about 50 kids in 5th grade, right? And Potter's has about 50 or 60 in 5th grade. Does anybody know, Lauren? Do you know what your 6th grade numbers were? Your 5th grade.
We have 3.
It's 53 couples.
You have 2 or 3. You remember?
We do have 3.
We have.
Okay. So maybe you were in the
So maybe it is.
70, close to 70.
I think we have 3.
We have 3.
Winchester, but yeah, but just once. Like it doesn't. You don't have them in all. the
Right,
grades.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie's going into his
Yeah.
class with 3,
Right.
yeah.
So that's somewhere around 120 less 5th graders.
There's
Okay,
59.
feeding into Winchester. Oh, do you got the numbers there?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the numbers that Kevin.
For this year.
Potter Road had 57
For this year.
for this year, and Winchester is 59.
Okay, 57, 59 students. There's 100 kids not flowing to West Middle, right? And so the only kids that you're drawing into West Middle are West Elementary and Allendale kids.
Right.
So then.
Which is about 200, would be about 200,
Right. And then we go back to Bob's question, which is going to exist in every one of these proposals. What happens to the middle schoolers and the high schoolers?
Right.
So,
So that would be about 200 kids added to West Middle, but would we lose any kids at West Middle back to the east side?
that goes back to Bob's question.
Yeah.
That's the next phase,
You
and
may lose
Eric, I
kids
think,
back
said
to
it
the east
too.
side from West
It's going to be a
Middle.
reality that we have to address
Yeah, and I
what
think
happens
that's,
to those kids.
that's what gives the commission continues to evaluate. That's what would do. The school board in October is going to be looking at the proposal. Again, what we don't want to have happen is, if you guys remember, and forgive me for bringing up the first subject, we wanted to buy the driveway. The proposal was to buy the driveway. The dollar amount was to buy the driveway, redevelop it, completely make it East High School entrance, and rework it, and everyone voted it down. It didn't, and everyone voted it down. It got voted down. My opinion on that was, if they would have had a proposal just to buy the driveway, the cost to buy the driveway, get the house, get the property, and worry about building it later, the proposal may have passed. So now they can't get that driveway. So my opinion on when the person sent this proposal over to include it definitely was, it gives the school board something to act on immediately, and yet we don't have to rush and make every decision. We don't have to redistrict the whole district. Am I getting that?
I see it.
Okay.
I think that the con to that is the rip off the Band-Aid thing. Is that it's just we might be piecemealing, and I know that I think it's very important that we're methodical in what we do and we really think it through. But I think we need to be,
Right.
we don't want to be sitting here next year going, okay,
No,
now what's the next thing?
and I agree with that. So a pro and a con of that would be we don't want to rush to it. How many meetings do we have left before we have to have a final group of proposals? Like if the school board were to accept this and then say, okay, you guys have 2 more months to come up with the rest of the plan or something like that. I'm not saying like table it for a year, but I know that kids, when we were talking with some people, they had mentioned do close Potter's 1 year and then Winchester the year later. We're still making the announcement that we're doing it. We're just giving it a year to figure out how we're going to do it.
Quick question, is there going to be an immediate question if we close Potter and leave Winchester open? You say, why are you closing a building built in the 1960s and keep a building that was built in the 1920s and 30s?
That's what we're talking about.
Because one is sellable.
On the surface, that seems a legitimate question.
I look at it the other way. I think it's a positive that if we keep Winchester open because it has so much history and because it is, it's a piece of West Seneca history basically. That's just how I feel. I would like to see it stay open because I think it's a beautiful building. Not that I don't think Potter is.
No, but I'm just...
Yeah,
So,
no, I see what
and
you mean though.
On the surface, without
Yeah.
any deep thinking there, that'd
So
be an
without
easy-
any deep
Yeah.
thinking, let's
Right.
throw in under the pro for this would be Winchester is historic building. The con would be people are going to question why we're closing a newer building.
And I think we get back to the enrollment equity issue too, because it's still not equitable.
Okay, so that would be, again, I want to make sure I'm not screwing this up. That would be a con for the proposal. Con, road?
Well,
Question?
I'm just reading through all these again, and the common theme is Potter Road closes.
Yes.
That is a done deal.
I think that's in all.
That's done.
Yeah.
So now basically what we're here doing is debating, what are we doing with Winchester?
Yes,
Right.
and I did at the end of last meeting, I said, well, actually, no, I did say if anyone has any proposals that don't include Potter's closing, we will, it doesn't seem like we have any reason not to close Potter's.
Right.
But also at the last meeting, a proposal came up to close Allendale. A couple of proposals came up to close Clinton. So yeah, we're looking at each and every aspect. Again, I'm trying, the people that sent these, I'm trying to give them all their thing, and then we'll decide which ones work. Like this one, if you guys all think is stupid, then I'll just shred it. That's all. No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying don't take it as I'm just trying to get everything out there that was sent to me, so we can discuss it. So
But I'm just saying for the committee, the people who put in the proposals,
Yes.
the common theme is
Yes.
Potter Road is closing.
Yeah.
absolutely. And we had decided at the end of last meeting, the absolute comment of all this is district offices are leaving. And the other one was that we want to get 5th grades into the middle school. No proposal could be without those 2 items. The Potters one was on the fence because we didn't want to just automatically speak for the whole committee. But I think, like you're saying, it's unfortunately.
And I think really, unfortunately, anything that is decided by, proposed by us and decided by the board is going to take criticism no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And, we just have to have a very strong stance on it so that we're not, like, yeah, maybe you're right. Like, it has to be just very unified and strong. And we have to have thick skin and say, well, sorry if you don't like it, but that's just what we think is best for everyone.
But we are giving multiple proposals, so that shows that we did our homework.
Exactly. No, I agree. I'm just saying, I think there's going to be, when we're saying, well, the criticism of this is going to be this, and the people are going to say this about this.
Yes, and again, the reason why we have it out there is I don't want anyone to say, you guys closed Potters when you started this committee. We really didn't start with the idea of closing Potters. It gained steam when we did the tours and, when Holly, gave her heartfelt speech about, it's a sad thing to have to close any school. It seems like Potters is the one that is just waiting for it. And then, like you said, we have Winchester waiting in the wings. But, again, so pros and cons for 4.
Well, we're assuming that there's a buyer for Potter's.
Yes.
And we won't mention names, we all know what we're talking about. Should that be solidified or put out there so that doesn't?
Again, my understanding.
I've heard that there's been some conversations. But
My understanding was it's a property that can easily be sold, and apparently, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, was there not a presentation made to the school district by certain town officials that there was only a couple of properties that were really worth selling, or am I just making that up in my head?
Yeah, I would ask Mark to speak to that.
Okay, yeah, Mark Crawford, Dr. Crawford.
Right.
Sorry.
And
Mr. Graham.
A few years ago, there was the storage, equipment storage building or something. Will that have to be replicated someplace else?
Right, that's a good question, actually. Can we throw that as something to look into? Is that?
That would be a con of closing Potter Road.
Yeah. So that would show up on every proposal we have.
If I can chime in there a little, the network connections for the maintenance building come from Potter.
I'm sorry, sir?
The network connections for the maintenance building come from Potter Road Elementary.
Okay. So that would be, again, a con for closing Potter.
Can we go back just 1 second?
Yes.
What is at Potter that if Potter closes?
There's a maintenance building there.
Okay.
Is it on the property of Potter? Like if we close and sell Potters, is it Potter or Potters? Can we end this right now?
Yes.
It's Potters. Because the signs on the road, some say Potter and some say Potters.
Yes.
So it's Potters. It's done. I'll start saying Potters. Apologies if I said it wrong. Is that the same property?
I'm not
Like
sure.
if we
I
close
believe
and
that
sell
it is.
Potters,
Yes.
are we pretty much
I'm
closing?
assuming we own all the property,
Yeah,
yes.
visually, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a question.
So we would-
I assume so.
Okay, that's something we need to figure out then.
Now, taking into consideration, there's not a lot of network connections there.
Okay.
So it could be.
So it's not $1 million? Okay. Now what about the actual storage though? We could shift that?
I'm sorry?
Isn't there another building we're all talking about too?
It's the same
Maintenance?
building.
It's the same
thing.
Okay, okay. So We got that, proposal number 4. Any other pros or cons for proposal number 4? The only pro I wanted to throw out there was it gives the school board the ability to act immediately and us to research more without having to do it by October. That's my pro that I would like in there.
Wait, say that again.
Okay,
I'm trying
it
to
gives,
catch up here.
proposal number 4
Yeah.
allows the school board to act immediately to save the district money,
Okay.
and yet we're not closing the door on any other school closings or redistricting.
Okay.
Excuse me one second. Brian, do you have numbers for all the 5th grades?
Okay.
Right, I mean, is something readily available?
Yeah, I got them
Actually,
right here.
Lisa has it.
I have them right here. They were on our little people sheet.
I got the ones from Brian, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was from
Question with
even
the
more in the
number?
beginning. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the 4th graders, there's 49 of them in total right now. There's 54 5th graders right now, and 49 4th graders.
The 5th graders wouldn't be touched this year. This is a 1 year. This will happen in a year.
So those would be
But there's
just
69 3rd graders right now.
Proposal number 4,
Yes.
the one we just did.
Yes.
You had said that
2 years.
Winchester would become an east building?
Yes.
So it still
It
would be
north,
redistricting.
north-south, yeah.
So
So
we
you got
said
your-
it was
54 5th graders now,
So-
49.
Gotten 4. Was that 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4.
Good. Yeah.
You said to add
And there's
that.
69 3rd
Okay,
graders.
yeah.
Which
Thank you.
Which means that
There's a
proposal
pretty
4
big
and proposal
influx
5 are
each
now,
year.
are the same.
Then
Except for the commission, you don't have commission continues to evaluation of reconfiguring district.
Okay, so do we want to just
on 5.
combine those to the same proposal? So
Proposal
proposal
4/5.
4.5? We'll relabel those? Again, I didn't, these are proposals from different people, so I didn't want to just delete someone's proposal for no reason. Okay, proposal number 6. Grades 5 are moved to middle school, obviously. District offices are moved to Ebenezer. Again, we're covering the district offices moving, we're planning on Ebenezer. Potter's Road is closed or is closed and sold. Allendale is closed or closed and sold. West Middle and West Elementary swap buildings. So this would become a middle school, and West Middle would become an elementary school. Allendale, half of Potter, and West L students would flow into the new West L building, and half of Potter would go to Winchester. And I believe this proposal kind of got a little steam last week when someone
How
mentioned
does that, I'm still confused of how that makes room in the middle school. Or is it because it's flipping? And there's more room?
There's enough room here.
How much more space is there in this building?
I don't
than in
understand,
West
it doesn't
Middle?
say.
Oh, wait.
Hey, Brian, do you know
Yeah.
how
Well,
Do you know
this
what I
building
mean?
used to be Allendale Junior High School. So in one of the, I don't know if everybody has every packet that I've handed out, but Allendale Junior, that thick packet with all the slides, maybe Brian, you can find Allendale Junior and then let us know the enrollment trend. But it was probably, you know, Allendale Junior probably held 1,000 or more students at one point. Of course, the district offices would be gone.
It does say that West L has a possible, right now it has 41 classrooms, a possible 54 with the officers gone. And West Middle has 50 classrooms.
So you pick up 4 more classrooms by swapping buildings.
Work.
That's
For
a
4
lot to do for
classrooms.
4 classrooms.
Would we only pick up 4 classrooms?
Yeah.
But also
According to the,
bathrooms.
to the,
Is the
Tiny toilets.
save money not
Tiny
by the
toilets.
Tiny toilets.
That's a
reconfiguration?
con, tiny.
Well, from my understanding, we're talking to some people, reconfiguration would basically be toilets. Is there any other things that we're not?
Yeah.
Science labs?
We have no auditorium here.
No
And,
auditorium, no science labs, no, I don't know.
you know,
Oh, there's
if
no
we,
auditorium here?
there's no.
That's right, when the tour.
So, you know, the thing to me, I keep going back to what we
Yeah.
said we
Yeah.
value,
No
and
shop.
one of the things that we value
No home
is
careers.
or one of the things that we value are the fine arts, and we wouldn't even have an auditorium for our kids.
So we're gonna put that under, cons for this proposal is there's no auditorium here. And I'm assuming shop facilities, if there was a swap, that shop facilities would be included in the swap.
But you'd have to build
You'd
them.
have to do that.
Yeah, so put that as a con, that we would have to build shop facilities. in home ec. I don't know, what can you call that, something?
Family consumer science.
Family consumer science.
Let me make sure that I have all this. This is all just for the West L, West Middle swap.
Yes.
Too many changes for only a flat 4 classroom difference. No auditorium at West L, tiny toilets at West L, no technology, no science lab. Did I miss anything?
No.
You split the campus.
Family consumer science.
Thank you.
And you split the campus.
No fields
You know,
either.
it's just
Right.
you got, this is a school campus, the whole ground's a school. You sell that front building, what is it?
Yeah.
You're driving through another property to get back here to your building.
Right. So con would be splitting the campus.
There's no fields here.
There's no fields.
There's only that baseball diamond
Right.
and that
So-
lovely tennis court.
You're getting practice area.
That is in bad shape.
Do we have any
Kids
pros?
playing area when it's money.
Pros?
Well,
would-
one thing that is West L is quite a bit bigger. It's 126,500 square feet, and West Middle is 13,400 square feet. It's a lot bigger of a building, but it is missing a lot of stuff. Auditorium, it's missing.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
So it is a lot bigger, and I think a pro would be you could have 5th and 6th on the first floor, and 7th and 8th on the second floor,
Okay.
which would be similar to the east side configuration of the 5th and 6th,
Yeah.
and 7th and
So-
8th.
That's true, Danielle. You could really separate.
Yeah.
Pro would
Which
be
is-
separate.
Which is what, the east side has, and that's something that a lot of people were afraid of.
One
Yeah.
pro would be that Allendale's roof needs to be replaced, and we wouldn't have to
Yeah.
replace it.
Lisa?
I could sleep at night.
Any other pros? I mean, I know a pro is the building, maybe, Allendale may be a building that could be sold and reused. So, obviously, we don't have the cost, but Bob, did you have any luck just even questioning that? Or where did that come up from, by the way? Who mentioned
Kevin
that?
Love brought it up.
Kevin Love brought it up? Okay. So
Well,
everyone
the
called
other thing that you could use Allendale for is the administrative building.
Okay, pro. That's actually a little subcategory on it.
Sorry,
Allendale could be the
Justin.
administrative building.
Allendale Elementary School, if you were to do this, could be used as the administrative building. It would be separate, but still one campus.
Oh.
And maybe adult ed. Could also have more daytime space at the administration building.
Yeah.
So can we make that as like an
You're
asterisk
stealing
on
my
the proposal?
proposal.
What? I
stealing-
love your proposal.
I know, you're stealing.
Oh,
part
is
of
that
it.
already farther on? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're stealing.
You know what, Lisa? I apologize.
stealing.
I apologize. I was trying to
Oh.
commend him. Yeah, so when we get to Lisa's, apparently we'll be pleasantly surprised with how thorough she was. Not pleasantly surprised, we'll assume she's thorough. Okay, so any other pros or cons for this, other than I stole Lisa's idea?
The one thing that, if you guys have a packet, Allendale just historically seems to have consistent enrollment. So even though all enrollment has decreased over the district, it's just important, if you have the slide, the only time it's really seemed to dip significantly seems when we took the 6th grades out.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So that would
Can
be
you
a
just show
con.
that?
So I'm gonna throw that out there then. Doesn't Winchester consistently have?
No, over the last 14 years, the average enrollment for Winchester was 500, and now it's 280. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
So
didn't happen to take out 286
And that's
graders?
after we redrew the line. We got to remember, we took some of Potter Road's kids and moved them over there, 70 kids or whatever,
Okay.
not
So
long
it
ago.
was
But in
interesting to me. That's one visual that I have, is that the surrounding areas where we draw Allendale families from seems to always keep the building somewhat healthy. So just something to think about.
When this was Adler Junior on the slides, it had
Yeah,
1,400 kids at
1,400.
one point, and
As it's high.
1,200, 1,100, so
Yeah.
over the course of
As
10
a
years,
junior,
it had, yeah, the
junior
junior
high.
high housed over easily 1,200 kids.
Not as
10
many
years.
requirements, though, I want to throw out there.
Right.
With different types of classes, and also not necessarily
Technology.
fire codes weren't as prevalent back then.
And Brian, you'll also see.
And you know what? They all survived.
Actually, there's,
Yeah, but
And they're all
it
still
doesn't
around
mean
and
it's
they
good.
right up.
but there's not. There's schools that lost a lot of children because of improper fire codes because of the fire. So
But also, take a look, Brian, at West Middle and East Middle, because you'll see the same thing. Or West Junior and East Junior, whatever it's called. You'll see thousands of kids in those buildings.
Yeah, the senior high at 1,800, 1969 at 2,200.
Right.
Any other pros and cons for number 6? Anything anyone want to throw out there? Bueller? Okay, proposal number 7. Grades 5 are moved to middle school. District
We don't
offices
have
are...
7 or 8. We go right to 9.
7 and 8.
What?
We go right to 9 in this package?
Yeah.
It might be misnumbered. Check.
I have 7.
I have
You have
7.
I don't have 7.
How did we,
Oh, I copy
I
it.
got, it was 9, 10, 11,
is everyone missing 7?
I'm missing
I don't
7.
have that many.
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Here. Oh, you got it? Okay, so let's move on to 9. We will save 7 and 8 until you guys have 7 and 8. So con for 7 and 8 or you guys don't have them. Proposal 9. Grades 5 are moved to middle school. District offices are moved to beneath the building. Potter's Road closes. We swap West Elementary with West Middle buildings. West Elementary, half of Potter's Road students go to New West Elementary. We've already discussed.
The other thing too, and we really haven't talked much about this, but I think on this one, we're swapping so we can house more kids at West Middle, so we can make it a 5-8 building. But one of the things that we're not equalizing are the high school numbers. And if we look at the high school numbers, right now, West has approximately 400 more kids than the East Senior High. So by not moving any of those kids, by just swapping the middle schools, that would, other than the cons that we talked about, that wouldn't eventually equalize out the high school. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you still have that bubble there.
Right.
And we haven't,
So,
and I just thought about that. We haven't talked about how that would play on the high school level.
Proposal that I have that I decided wasn't important at this time because we got to get a building or 2 closed to save money. I have a proposal that has 1 high school. So like I think we can't make those decisions in the next couple of months. So what we can have is a caveat on here where we then look at how to make the high schools either equal or 1 high school or, you know.
Well, I think some of these other ones would.
Yes, no, I know, I'm saying, but the ones
yeah.
that don't, I would say we can look at that. Proposal 9 though, pros and cons. It looks to me like the only thing different between here and the other one is the Allendale doesn't close. Am I mistaken on that, or?
Now, Lisa, I do have a question though.
Sure.
Based off of that, my understanding was the reason to balance the schools, the numbers on East and West, was to make the West Middle building able to house 5 through 8.
Right.
So if we move it to a new building, is it still important to have equal numbers on?
Well,
East
one of
and
the
West?
things,
Is it-
one of the things that I had said from the beginning, Brian, was to me, as a parent, as an educator, I think we need to look at enrollment equity. So when I think of enrollment equity, I think that every kid should have that same attention. So do I think that that the difference at West Senior and West Senior and East Senior are equitable right now? I don't. Do I think that Winchester and Clinton are equitable right now? I don't. I just don't think that you've got this, you've got 1 social worker at Clinton Street and you've got 1 social worker at Winchester. I don't know how do you know what I mean? Like if I had a kid at Clinton Street, I'd be like, well, how come my kid doesn't have that same opportunity? So I'm just looking across the board. If we can move these kids around, it becomes an equity issue and everybody's more within 50 kids or whatever.
Okay, I think the only thing I come up with as far as why the equity is so fast right now is because you have 4 West elementary schools and 2 East elementary schools, and just based off of that funnel, West should have more because of having more West elementary schools. The only way to get rid of that is to somehow have the same number of schools, so at least they're coming through the same way. So that's why I think that's just a product of how it's set up right now.
If you got this
But
back,
that's why I wanted you to expand more on it, just so I knew.
if you got this back to a middle school, the original purpose of this middle school was to separate it, and half the kids went to east and half the kids went to west from this school. I went to school here. That was the purpose of it. West Middle was overloaded. Well, everything was overloaded then, but
Right.
West Middle was overloaded. They opened this school, and it was redistricted. When we finished school here, half of us went to east and half of us went to west.
That's interesting, I didn't know that.
So, I mean,
Now, now, the difference between then and now, was there issues back then over people splitting that you know of? Like, did your parents ever mention negative things that happened because you guys were all together in this school and then split out from here?
Well,
no.
no,
I'm
our
just-
parents didn't freak out over this stuff. I went,
Parenting
when
is
I was
different
at
than what is
Allendale,
done.
they did half and half. It's not a big deal, but when you get into redistricting and you get into families that are split, like, I mean, I'll just talk about it again. There were 2 of us at East and 2 of us at West. We all played the same sports. They all go on at the same time. So now you're sitting there going, well, do I go to this one or do I go to this one? I mean, things that can be changed is like open house night. You just make them on different nights. But sporting events, it gets a little tricky. And I mean, you deal with that now, but it's also, you know, I mean, it's just, everything has pros and cons, but that was the issue. Like when I went home and I sat down with my parents and we talked about it, these are the things that they said bothered them. That, you know, they have to go to this game and not go to this game, or, you know, where you can kind of
Sarah, can I ask you a question? So then when you and your sisters were in school and the redistricting happened, you were able to, like, if you were in, let's just say, if you had 2 sisters at East High School, they were able to stay and the other 2 went to West? Is that how it happened? I'm just trying to...
When my sister, the one that's just under me, was at the junior high, so she had already started, she was going into 8th grade. They gave her the option of whether she wanted to switch and go to West or if she wanted to stay at East where she had already started. And it was only given to the kids that were a year ahead of the change. So, you know, when she was starting 7th grade, they had just started talking about redistricting. So when they brought it out, she was going into 8th, and they said, well, you can change your mind and you can go to West with, you know, your other sister who's going there, or you can stay at East. And she chose to stay at East because I was already there and she had already made friends there and she's comfortable there. So, you know, I mean, they gave that, but it was only 1 year.
Okay, I was just trying to, because I know that's something that we
if you were beyond that, I didn't have a choice.
Right.
But I was happy where I was.
Well, there's never going to be a year with no kids.
Right.
Yeah,
it's going to affect somebody
there's
somehow.
pros and cons
So,
to everything.
let me throw out for number 9. Do we have any pros and cons? It's similar to, I think, 6. Differences, the Allendale stuff is taken out. I do want to do a caveat in there. The remaining kids go to Winchester for Potters. I think that's not listed in here.
In where?
We're on proposal 9. Proposal 9 is basically swap West, Middle, and Elementary buildings. Then West Elementary gets half of Potters. West Elementary kids and half of Potters go to the new West Elementary, which is the old West Middle. Then old West Middle, all the West Middle kids come to here. So this is the new middle school campus.
So then the only pro really would be the pro that we have for number 6, which is the whole West L 5th and 6th on 1st floor, 7th and 8th on 2nd floor. That's the only pro we have.
Could be a
for
pro
number
that
9.
we don't close Allendale. I mean, that's
well,
the difference between the
I
two.
just want to make sure I got it.
District offices moved to Ebenezer. Potters closes and is considered to be sold. And then, you know, equalization. It's simple, but not too simple because apparently there's a lot of structure. You know, and that's something we need to ask. Like, how hard is it for home ec? I mean, are those facilities wiped out when they made an elementary school, or are they just buried in the wall? You know, that type of thing. I don't know, and Joe Farr could probably answer that.
That begs me to ask one more question here, because unfortunately I wasn't at the last one. What is the cost to reconfigure both buildings when you do the swap?
Right, and that's what we'll run by.
Is there any money savings there?
Yep, and that's what we'll run by. I'm assuming all the money people could probably help with that. What is, you know, even Kevin with busing, would that cost more to bus people or less? You know, how would that work? Okay, so I'm gonna, Bob?
In all of these changes, are we going to still be in East and West Township?
We're trying to eliminate that just in general speak.
And I like that.
My proposal has one high school, so no.
Well, I'm not sure how quickly we can get to that point size-wise.
Yeah.
But I would, you know, we haven't until just a few moments ago talked about how the populations of East and West high schools, we now know them, are and will be over the next few years.
We have those agreed
I feel we need to do it.
Yeah, but at this time, or once we start deciding on the proposal?
Well, we got to see what whatever we decide from, we're talking mostly elementary and middle.
Yes.
How that impacts the seniors.
Yes, and at no point will it cause enrollment to skyrocket, I know that. So we can we just get through these and then bring that up as a general?
But we're getting most of these proposals are getting away from an east and west boundary.
Yes.
So that's going to make it easier for the east and west high schools to dissolve.
Yes.
In thought.
Yes. Yeah. I think west and east side can really get along. Maybe north and south though. Maybe we start a whole new Civil War type thing.
Yeah.
North and south. Proposal 10.
There's just one other thing about swapping West L and West Middle. It kind of goes along with the tiny toilet, and I'm sorry to be weird, but I distinctly remember 2 years ago us celebrating here because they had finally lowered the urinals here.
Yeah.
And this has been an elementary building for 15 years.
Right.
So if we're gonna swap them, and it's gonna take them 13 years to lower the urinals at West Middle and raise them here,
I don't think we need to raise them.
Amy,
I can still hit a low urinal.
what kind of celebration did you guys have?
I think if we did a proposal though, we would want it to state that we actually make the facilities properly for the ages here.
I'm just saying it.
That would be my opinion.
You know, when kindergartners are going to go over to West Middle and the urinals are up for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for 13 years.
Right.
It's kind of foolish. I mean, isn't it foolish?
We could buy stools.
You were already gone.
Clean all that.
Right. We could just buy those P-pads. Okay.
I'm just saying that I think we cannot just expect everything to be
No,
running
but what we're
It's
gonna
something to think
to
about.
go from
what we want to think about
5-year-olds
is
to 13-year-olds and vice
Don't
versa.
freeze the urinals, build up the floor.
yeah. we can
Buy stools. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back.
Can I just ask, going to the swapping thing too, I think something that we need to keep, I don't know that it's a pro or con, but I think it's a question that we need to keep in the back of our heads is how fast does a process, going with Amy said, but how fast does a process like that happen? And the reason that I'm going to say that is like, does it take, would it be like something that can happen to swap these buildings in a summer? Is it something that...
So time frame.
Right, because like what happens if we're in the middle of like trying to figure this out and like school's starting and you know we don't have space for kids and like what do we do?
Down at the bottom,
like it's just a
a pro or
question.
con or on the both
You know?
time frame.
I did.
But what we could do is we could add it to the school, the kids' supply list. Everyone has to bring in a urinal.
Because like for instance the science lab thing, if you don't hit enough science labs, if you don't do enough science labs, you can't sit for those Regents exams.
Right.
So I mean that really is a
that's gotta
program.
happen.
Yeah, it's a program thing. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but we really need.
It can't
like,
take 15 years to happen.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't say in 5 years we're going to build science labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Then so time frame.
That's a con, okay?
Yeah.
Because that all falls into the cost.
Well,
And the other thing is if it takes more than a school year, then it's another year that our 5-8 configuration isn't equal. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's not.
When we can't do it while school's open either.
Right.
So.
Right. No,
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Can we pop back to 7? Does everyone have 7 now?
Yes.
7 is grades 5 are moved to middle school, district offices to Ebenezer. Redraw attendance lines. Anyone from east of Union and Seneca Street up to Orchard Park boundary lines will flow 5th grade to east side. There you go, Bob.
So you'd be going from, like, essentially, we would be West L to East Middle, right?
I cannot comprehend what I just read without a map. But
Okay.
it sounds to me like basically we would just take all the kids in West Seneca and figure out.
So none of the elementary schools would change? Well, I mean, as far as,
Right.
None of
like,
them would
Well,
close.
in proposal 7, what's missing here is, and we decided, the two things are here. The only thing missing is would Potter still close? Corey, I'm gonna ask you flat out. Is that,
I think,
Did I miss something,
think that's
or-
what, I can't remember why my husband and I did this one.
okay.
Sorry.
Do you want to add anything into 7, or do you want to
No.
leave it as is?
No,
So
I mean,
then
you
I'm gonna
can
say a
scrap it
con
if you
is
want.
we don't close the
Forget-
school and we don't save any money.
okay.
Right.
So everything stays
So
open.
that would be a yes. Okay.
But
So this is one of the last proposals you guys did, what are you trying to say?
This was the
Yeah,
one.
pretty much. We're looking at the maps, we're sick of the blue people and the green people, we're like,
Oh,
okay, let's.
okay, wait, okay, perfect.
Hey, turn it to purple
So,
people.
so I'm gonna.
Yeah, everybody's rainbow and there you go.
Any other pros or cons for that one, other than it's just
Oh, I
probably not?
get it, I get it.
well, I don't think we're saving any money.
Right, that's a con, I said that.
Oh,
as a
I'm
con.
sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
no, that's
sorry.
okay, no,
Like
I'm
we're
saying,
saying,
but it's basically another one of those shredder ones.
This is where Union
It's
North
the other
Park
way.
me.
No,
So-
down here.
Oh, okay.
Number 8,
So
Corey
like
must have got her
this.
cup of coffee in her. Grades
My
5 are
husband
moved to
did
middle
these.
school. District offices are moved to Ebenezer Building. Potter's Road is closed and/or sold. And each school will have their own UPK
So
program.
we had no pros for 7?
Yeah, just no schools closed.
That's a pro and a con?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 8, Corey, I want to ask you again. Does redistricting happen in proposal 8?
Sure, why
Kind of
not?
back to
Oh,
7.
got it, thank you.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just go
So
with the
so
flow.
proposal 8, again, grades 5 are in the middle school. District offices are at Ebenezer. Potter's is closed and/or sold. And every building has their own UPK program. And we redistrict to make all the kids fit happily.
Yeah, but how? Where do they come from? Like I don't understand.
Proposal, what was the?
Like, yeah, add another one on there. Any one of those other proposals before.
Yeah, the
We
re-
just
the re-
like, you know what, I liked the idea of the UPK program in every school because the kid is gonna start at that school and then continue on through.
Is there
That was
an-
the point
I
that
li-
I was
that's an
looking at.
interesting concept. Are there enough? I like that idea. Are there enough kids per school? Like, does every school
Yeah.
have enough?
Yeah,
Like, how
Brian
many?
made it sound like it wouldn't be that much of a difference as far as cost.
We have about 216 kids that go to our brick and mortar schools that are UPK. I don't really know how many of them are Winchester kids, how many of them
Right.
are Allendale kids, West Elm.
Like, if they can sustain
Right.
their own
Yeah,
program?
it's something to look at, yeah.
That's an interesting
Like, that's the only,
concept.
that's the one thing that I liked in that
Right.
one.
And then when you put this together, or whoever, did you Ed said redistrict, did you guys think about where the Potter Road kids would go? or-
No.
Okay.
So number, you know what I would say is, I would combine 7 and 8.
What
My
I do
opinion.
like is the redistricting, finding the line within the middle of town so that everyone kind of has,
That's how
they're
it
going to
was.
school
Right.
closest to
Right.
their school. So you don't have somebody,
So
like my concern before was you have a Potter's Road keep going to east and they're passing the school on the way to get
7.5,
to,
7.8.
on the way to get to it. So I do like that, that
Yeah.
you're finding that spot in the middle, wherever it
Right.
turns out to be, east and west get even, and if you live in the middle, you're gonna
Well,
find out.
my question to that is, are east and west high schools able to have the same amount of kids?
Yeah.
Isn't one of them bigger than the other?
West is bigger.
School, you mean capacity wise?
Yeah. So would it, I'm only asking this, would it be unfair to tack one school and not the other? Like, when we equal it out, if one school holds 1,000 and one holds 800, wouldn't you rather have?
Well, West Senior has 87 classrooms, East Senior has 69 classrooms.
Say it again?
West Senior has 249,000 square feet and 87 classrooms, and East Senior has 203,000 square feet and 69 classrooms.
Okay,
So
so,
yes, you could put a lot more people in West.
yeah, I don't know if we would
Five.
want both buildings
I,
equal amount of students,
well,
right?
I
But
have
then that
a
also
for
takes you
this.
to East Middle having 78 classrooms and West Middle having 50, so you're
Senior had
exact
20,
opposite.
Right.
You have a bigger middle school with a smaller high school and so
Okay.
you just.
I'm gonna label these 7.8, we'll
Okay.
combine them.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a con.
Yes.
Just looking at it, the only thing that I don't like, and it's just my opinion, but I just don't like it, is, you're talking about, what we're trying to do is put these schools strategically so they all travel as a school, like, you know, all of Allendale goes to west, all of Northwood goes to east. So with this proposal, it sounds to me like the one neighborhood that, I mean, that we're in right now, they go to West L right now. So what they would be doing is essentially a section of West L would be going back to east for middle school. So you're dividing the school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you redraw
Yeah.
like the Tree Haven,
Yeah.
the Tree Haven neighborhood.
And Allendale, you're right, because Allendale's the other side of east and west. So you'd be taking half of Allendale and half of West L and
Would
shuffling
those
them
kids
east.
go to Allendale and West L, or would they go to?
The closest, if you want to talk east side, it would have been east out, but now you're talking Clinton, and there's no way you're going to fit all those kids. I mean, unless, I don't know, I mean, you'd have to do like a ton of redistricting, like taking all of them, and I don't even think
So the
that's
con
enough school.
is an elaborate redistricting procedure.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you'd be separating elementary schools,
Yeah.
and kind of what we're trying to avoid is separating
So-
it, right?
But
Is
that's what
we're
we'd be
trying to-
doing with Potter too, is, oh, half of your kids are going to Northwood now and half of you are going to Allendale.
But
It's
yeah,
the same-
right, that was a
But
concept
this would
that
be-
was too,
Right,
yes.
right.
But she was saying that those,
But they'd
those
all essentially be,
neighborhoods,
Right.
they'd all
She
be,
felt-
yeah, well,
Holly
it's,
felt that
Could
those
you-
neighborhoods could be split.
Well, I think what she's saying though is this would be every year, right? Are you saying that? That
well, yeah, every year,
you looked at the redistricting. Is it would be every year some kids from Allendale and West L would be going?
Yeah, but how
To
about,
east
what
or-
if we,
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
took
There was
this-
no
Well,
there
yeah.
right from
What
the
if you
start.
took this
There was no
neighborhood?
there right from the start.
well,
And you took
that's how it was for me.
Allendale, and Allendale was an east school and West L was a west school. You have two within the same campus. It services the neighborhood, the people down the middle. So now you're in the same neighborhood, you can go to your east school, maybe you're in Allendale. You're in the same, if you're in the west district there, you can go to West L.
Yeah.
So
So you could, I think this campus here, you could do an east-west split
So-
and have an east school and a
We
west
need-
school in the same complex and not have
instead
it.
of calling it east-west though, we would have to have like the Hartford division and we'd have to have other names. Stop calling it east and west. We definitely would have to rename
The Ed
it.
Benient
Yeah,
Middle School.
we'd have Ed and then Lisa. We get each little school after each chairperson of the committee. But yeah, do we want to add that to the proposed 7.8? Is Allendale would be east, West L would be, okay. Cool.
I had last time said about having a singular pre-K location.
Yes.
I 100% take that back.
Okay. You didn't,
I
propose
like
it,
it
so-
better for this to be the start into their elementary years.
That's okay.
So no matter
other than
what-
The fact is you're gonna be losing classroom space to do that
well, we already dedicate classroom space for pre-K
Nope.
though, right?
in a central location.
Oh, okay.
What I would
Right.
like to see,
If you do it,
They're in 2 buildings now, right?
What was the question?
if you put pre-K in every building, you're gonna lose classroom space in each building. Because you have to house a pre-K somewhere.
But we have,
Yeah, so it's a good question. We have 6 classrooms right now that we utilize for all of UPK because they run in 2 sessions. So
But they're centrally located. They're not in
there's
each building.
3 in Potters and 3 at Northwood starting in September.
Okay,
So
but
we're not-
there's none here.
Right.
And there's none in Allendale. So if you put some, you're gonna lose at least one classroom out of it.
but you would gain at the
Yeah,
schools
yeah,
that
it's,
you're taking them out of.
yeah. So
No,
depending
because they
on
would still be there at the other school.
No, if there, how many are here? Or
None.
Not, how many are at Clinton? Northwood?
Northwood 3.
Northwood 3, Northwood classrooms are used at Northwood, only 1 classroom would be used at Northwood then. 2 would be freed up. And then, so 1 would be at Winchester, 1 would be at Northwood, 1 would be at Clinton. And then here, 1 would be at West L, 1 would be at Allendale. So we would actually have 5 classrooms tied up
or
instead of
2.
Yeah.
So you're still working with 6 classrooms.
All I was saying was that when you're talking classroom space in each building, you're going to lose a
Yes.
classroom in each
Yes.
building.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it could be
There's no other
2,
way it could be.
you
So
know.
that would be
But-
a con.
Yes.
Right.
But a pro, though, am I wrong on this? A pro, you would gain classroom space in 2 of the buildings.
Well,
Right.
Potters has
Potters
3.
is closing, so you
Right.
would gain in Northwood.
Right.
Gain classrooms in Northwood.
And if you're looking long range on this, all of our enrollment is going down year to year. Like, we know that our West L,
Am I talking too
our
much?
middle
Is it
school
the-
numbers are down.
Right.
We're gonna be down 131 students in West Middle within 4 years, 171 in East Middle in 4 years. 109 in West and 148 in East Senior. So we know we're going to be down all these kids. So it may look like a crunch the first year when you do it, but over the course of time, I think with the lower enrollment, we would find more and more space being freed up over the course of time. So I think at first it might be we're right at capacity, knowing full well that in 5 years we're going to be well below capacity.
Are we at capacity on the majority of the buildings right now even?
No, I think what are we at, like 50% on most of them, Brian? 50.
So
Yeah.
we have the classroom space.
Yeah, I think so.
So, can I, Bob?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of theoretical talk tonight. I'm more visual. I would like a map generated showing the main streets in town, place each school building on the map, and say how many students are.
Now, sure. Yeah.
Similar to this.
Yeah, oh yeah, a whole lot less complicated than what we've seen so far. I don't want any kids out there.
Can I start with
No,
proposal 10?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Everyone got proposal 10?
Proposal 10.
All right, thank you, Brian, for making them double-sided. Save the tree. Winchester Elementary closes. Students go to Northwood. They stay on the east side. Well, they become east side, right? Move Winchester Middle School from west to east. So basically, the kids that would have gone to west are now going to go to east. And Winchester High School students obviously go from West Senior to East Senior. So basically, they become an east school. The Winchester kids, they move to Northwood and become east school. Obviously, closing Winchester saves money. Nurses, principals, social workers, custodians. Moving the children from this building will equalize enrollment and provide maximum financial efficiencies. Rerouting the students to the east side will enable a 5 to 8 middle school on both sides, which we definitely want in there. And we can repurpose the Winchester building into the district offices. Same proposal. Potters is closed. 50 to 75 students go to Northwood. Potters Road students go to East Side and Senior High. Basically, they also go with the Winchester kids and become part of the East. 2/3 move to West L. And again, this saves money, just like Winchester, for closing the building. We're not paying faculty and staff. Moving the children from this building will equalize the enrollment and provide maximum financial efficiencies. And the building will probably be sold, will be put up for sale. And obviously, we know how we would save money there. Roof, maintenance of the building, that sort of thing. Allendale, we would move all UPK classrooms to Allendale. There's enough parking for drop-off and pickup. First time parking's been mentioned. And
well, that
we would
was a
raise,
problem at Clinton Street that we had heard.
and it would raise their enrollment to help equal out buildings. The district office moved to Winchester. By moving the district office from its current location, it becomes a building without children, obviously solving the safety issue. Community Ed to move to Winchester. This will allow Community Ed to house a program during the day and it is in a designated building. Gym would be available during the day as well as classroom space. Could increase revenue generated by Community Ed program.
And you could have Community Ed theatrical things.
Yes, Bob will be starting
because there's an
Macbeth.
odd there.
Bob's going to put on a production of Macbeth next year. Is that a pro? Pro would be Bob doing Macbeth.
No, that's not. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me think about this. It could be a pro or a con.
You guys need to see him in tights.
Pros?
We've seen you Ed.
Pros, cons, pros are great. I think, oh yeah.
Allendale would have K to 4 plus all the UPK for the whole district?
Yes. Pro to me is great building usage. Con for me to throw out there is just UPK. I don't know how UPK works now. I don't know if everyone would want to drive all the way down there. I'm just throwing it out there because I've never been to UPK. Not, to be negative about it. I don't know. I mean,
That's true. Like two sides of town.
okay. Anyone?
One con I see is you have kids from Potters going into West L, but staying on an east side track, so you're gonna have.
No, you know what?
So
That
that
two-thirds
would
stay
stay on
to
the
west
west
side.
I
side.
screwed that up, I think, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I retyped them to fit on one page, I apologize, Lisa, if I
No, that's okay.
screwed up. Cons, pros, pros?
I have a question. And I only have, she's only going into 8th grade, so I don't know how she would do, but wouldn't, especially the kids that go into middle school now, they're already have in their brain West. I'm a West student, I'm a West student. So then how do you rewire their brain? Okay, you were West, now you gotta go to East. Wouldn't it just be easier to say, you know, as they're in 4th grade going into the 5th grade into the middle schools, they don't know East to West sides yet. Only when they get into the middle school is it more like, yeah, you're West.
I don't know. I think we have to run the numbers. I had numbers, honest to God, on my fireplace mantle. I had posties. I was moving them around, trying to figure it out. And what I don't, and this is I think the question that keeps coming up is, what do we do with the kids that are already at West Middle? Because I don't think we can make enough space if we don't take them out to put, do you know what I'm saying? If we don't take them out, I don't think we have enough space to put the 5th graders up there. Believe me, I was trying to figure out how you do that. Because I agree with you, Corey. I think that's a really vital issue, and I think it's something that we have to look at. But I just don't know number-wise. I mean, maybe somebody else can work the numbers around.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out how you could. It's just like I couldn't figure out how you could put Winchester and Potter Road at Northwood. Like I couldn't make those numbers don't work. Like they just physically, there's not enough space. And like Danielle said, for some of that, you know, maybe someday that number, you know, in the past that was a target number, but that doesn't mean that it's the right thing now. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the answer is to that question, but what I know is if we want to equalize those 5-8 buildings, we've got to somehow move some of those children out. How, I don't know.
Con would be how do you want to state it? Disruption of 8th graders' lives.
Yeah.
Would be a con.
Right.
I'm going to say a pro to that is it's going to learn kids to start accepting life, change habits.
Well, I would say a con would be moving kids who are already in the middle school and senior high to the other side. That would be, in their lives, that would be a con. That would be like end of the world change. So, okay.
Is that correct with the proposal doing that? It's literally taking kids, okay. I thought it was going to be future kids, so now I see what you've got, you know.
Well, because again, trying to equalize.
I'm going to say a pro in there though is just things happen in life. So you know. Okay. Any other pros and cons for 10?
I think that if their friends go with them, I think that it's easier for them
it's not
to
like just run
associate
one
with
child.
West or East. If we were taking them and dividing up a neighborhood, I think dividing up a neighborhood does worse than dividing up a school that's different neighborhoods. I think that if you grow up in a
practice in the district, take kids just, you know, 1 or 2 streets and move them to the other side. Back and forth. I had classmates that went freshman year with me, and then they were gone for 2 years, and then came back for senior year. And it was because
so they redistricted often.
Yeah, they didn't call it redistricting.
Yeah,
No, they didn't.
They just said they're going to a different school.
Yeah. So
But, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to be like nasty or harsh like Dan is, because I try not to be harsh.
that's because his school was split up.
Well, here's what I went through, and I was in an elementary school, so I wasn't like, you know, an angsty teenager or anything yet, but I went to Clinton Street for kindergarten. First, second, and third, I went to Northwood, and fourth and fifth, I went to Clinton Street. That's how often they redistricted, or whatever they called it at that point. And I lived in South Cheektowaga on the corner of Morano and West Cavalier. So West Cavalier and East Cavalier, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. Our 2 streets went and did all that switching. The street next to East Cavalier, which is Louise, and all the other streets in that neighborhood just continued to go to Clinton Street. So, like, I survived, and I'm trying not to be like, you know, nasty, but I survived it. And my parents just said, you go with the flow. And I think the parents at that point were just different, but
or there wasn't as much social media to make it known.
Yes.
Well, I think,
but
the only difference.
So proposal 11 though has eliminating Facebook.
The only difference.
Which is maybe we should do that.
The only difference is when you get to the like the middle school and the high school, a lot of them have the big things like homecoming. Oh well, homecoming are usually on different days though, aren't they? So never mind.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Can we move on to 11 or do we have
Yes,
to close
move
our
on to
comments?
11.
Number 1-1. Winchester closes. Students move to Northwood. And obviously they follow the east route. We begin to make room at West Middle, become a 5 to 8 and near East Middle. We save money the usual ways, and we mothball Winchester or sell it. Potter's Road closes. 50 to 75 students move to Northwood. Move Potter's Road students to the east side flow. 2/3 of them go to Allendale. This will save money by reducing personnel the usual. And we're going to begin to make room at West Middle to become a 5 to 8. Again, it'll mirror East Middle. Again, equalizing enrollment, and Potters will be sold.
Those two that are going to Allendale are going on the west track then?
Yes.
District offices go to Ebenezer. District office will move out of West L, huge safety issue. Allow additional space at West L, and we utilize this current district space. West L to receive district special education programs and pre-K programs. The ability for special ed children to have a home, to stay for their elementary career. That's a great one. Centralized service providers save money by pulling staff, less travel time needed, and plenty of parking available for easy drop-off and pickup for pre-K students.
Lisa, can you just, and it's kind of clear, but can you just go through, because I'm assuming these were done in your house because of your mantle, or else Ed went in there and did it there. But can you just outline the exact differences, like specifically pinpoint, like one of them being you had the district offices going, because they're very similar in terms of bullet
the
points.
biggest difference in 10 and 11 would be that the children from Potter, the majority of the children from Potter would go in proposal 11 to Allendale. In proposal 10, they went to West. So what, again, my biggest thing is trying to utilize our staff in our buildings. So in proposal 10, I had all the UPK going to Allendale to bump up their population, because as Brian said, it's pretty stagnant right across the line. So Allendale is pushing up. The biggest difference in proposal 11 is the special education piece. And that, I think, can be looked at in two ways. I think it's, when I'm looking at the district special education programs, I'm looking more at self-contained classrooms, the 611s, the 1211s. One of the things like that we saw, and a lot of the buildings don't either have the room or there's not the capabilities. Like when we were at East Middle, do you remember when we were in the therapy room that had the OT room that had the awesome swing and stuff like that? So one of the visions that I was thinking is if we kicked out the district office and we had enough space in this building, we could actually have more therapy-based programs within here. And by having that, you'd be able to have personnel centralized. You wouldn't have therapists necessarily traveling from point A to point B all the time. And the other thing is, what I've heard from, like, on district parent council before, is a lot of times those kids in those classrooms, they're not in an elementary building for their career. They get moved. So they're at East, I was going to say East Elementary, at Clinton Street for like, grades like their K1 experience, and then the only other place if there's a 2-3 experience is they have to move over to the west side of town, and then they've got to go back to the east side of town. Now these are kids, when we're talking about kids that have adaptation issues, these are the kids that need that consistency more than anyone else. So I really was kind of thinking about that, and I'm like, this could possibly be a way to really do that. And I think as a district, as we've brought more and more special needs children back, we don't program out of the district as much anymore, and part of that is because Brian and his staff have done such a great job of building great programs like for our autistic children. So we don't have to send them to BOCES anymore. We can program in-house. By doing that, we're giving them a better program, and it's more consistency for them and their family, and we're saving money. So we're hitting all of those things. So that was my my special ed piece in there. And I know that wasn't something we talked about. I don't have the numbers of how many special ed classes are in each building, but as I thought about that, I thought that way those kids can just blend into this building and become a part and know that they're going to be here. Like, what a thing for their family to know that they have a home for their career.
Yeah.
And a question for Brian with that is, with the UPK, like when my son was in UPK at Clinton, he got speech services. And when he got speech services there, it was a speech therapist that was coming out of ECMC. If they were here, if UPKs were here and kids needed speech or OT or PT, those could be in-district providers, or no, because they're pre-K?
County.
Yeah.
They're county.
It has to be
Pre-K is
county
always-
because they're pre-K?
Yep,
Okay,
always
that's
through the
what I
county.
was.
But we could have space available for them.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how that
Obviously,
worked.
I would definitely highlight that as a pro, right? Highlight it.
Yeah.
Any other pros?
What is 611 and 1211?
I'm sorry, and thank you for it goes by the severity of their disability. So like for instance, in a 611, it would be 6 children to 1 teacher to 1 aide. So your disability is going to be a bit more severe if you're in a classroom like that, or you could be medically fragile. You may have a nurse with you, something of that nature. A 1211, your amount of service has your disability isn't quite as severe, so you've got a little bit more space, that you don't need. And then we have 15 to 1 classrooms. I mean, we have a lot of different things. I'm not saying that that necessarily everything has to be here, but it was just a thought of like making a hub and utilizing services and
I never thought of that.
And I just thought the stability, I was trying to think about the kids, and I just think about the stability and consistency.
It's ironic, the ones that you want to have the most stability.
Right, are the ones you're bouncing all over.
That one actually was dead center on your mantle. I saw it.
One question I have on that though is, if you pull them out and you put them separate.
I know what you're going to say. Like, are you segregating? Is that
we're
what?
segregating. Where's the integration? Where's the integration come in?
They're still going to be integrated. Like, I'm not saying that they're all up in this corridor and it's like the special ed ward. It's not like that. They're all within, everywhere, and they become a part of the building. That's the whole integration piece. So they're coming to the book fair. They're going to the cafeteria. They're integrated into specials, just like they are now, but they would have a home base. You could have maybe up here in this area somewhere, you might have therapy rooms that would have bigger space. I mean, I know, and I can't speak for it right now, but I know when my son was in kindergarten and he received speech, and I know when he was in kindergarten and other children in his class got OT and PT, they did OT and PT in the hallway because there was no room. They didn't have a therapy space, and I think that's important.
So now, but would it just be the K through 4 special ed in this building, and then
Yep.
when they get to elementary
Yep.
school, there's middle school,
Yep.
there's a space in there, and then high school, there's a
Yep.
space there.
Oh,
Okay.
which there is
That's
now.
why I was almost thinking that you were putting all
No.
of it here, all the way here.
No,
That's what my
no.
initial thought was.
And total integration. I'm just looking for them to have, that they're not moving, that
Yeah,
they're not.
gonna be 2 years. I mean, I remember I bumped into a kid who was at Winchester and then not. He literally said to me, I must not have sold enough cookie dough. Literally, that's what he said to me. I said, I don't know if that's the case or not, but, you know, I miss you.
Lisa,
You said that to
what you're
yourself,
saying
that's why I'm
is, you're not taking students out of this building, you're adding those programs in.
Yeah. And again, the reason that I'm adding those classrooms in the pre-K to this building on proposal 11 is I've got kids going to Allendale, so on proposal 11, I want, now with district office gone, how do we utilize this building then?
Right.
Yeah, I
So
think
my
that's
big
why
thing
Brian
was on
was saying.
utilization and equity of staff.
Pro, con?
Well, it's just a fact that in childbirths now, it's 10 to 11% of children develop on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
That's can develop into a large number.
You wanna go?
Is that a pro or a con?
No,
It's a
I'm
fact.
just saying, I think that goes in line with giving them better, consistent care.
Yeah.
Pro. Pro, we're so pro that 10% of kids are, like, it's, we may need more space.
Yeah.
So that would be a great idea. Okay, Eric, you?
I
Sorry.
think that this is a really great proposal, not just because of the kids that I work with, but I think that we are trying to do something for our entire district, and I think this touches on everybody. And I think this is one of the greatest ones that we have here. Please.
Eric?
No, I really do like it.
I was just gonna throw out a last call for pros and cons, and then I had within the next cut, then I had an idea for moving on to the
Good.
next step.
Okay.
The question that I had in this is use the words to begin to make room, to begin to make room.
Yeah.
So this, I'm inferring that there's a gradual move. It might take 2 years to get to 5 to 8. Or did you think it could happen?
No, I think it can happen
Okay.
right away.
All right.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure. Just curious. All right, good. Good.
So do we have any cons for this, or?
Well, actually, the con would be then, though, we're moving the kids from Winchester and Potters. How's that going to create the space within West Middle?
Because-
to house the 5th graders.
Because they're going to the east side. You've got Winchester going to the east side and approximately 50 to 75 of the northwest on our little people map here.
Yeah, but how does that solve it for next year? Those kids aren't in middle school yet. Those 50 to 75 kids from Potters going in, that's their amount over the course, that's K through 4 right now, 75
Right, the
kids.
50 to 75 are part, that's part of the Potter Road kids, and then those 50 to 75 are gonna continue to move to the east side in the middle school and senior high. So all of those families whatever that 50 to 75 students, that attendance zone, I guess would be a better word, that attendance zone of that 50 to 70 would shoot to Northwood. And then in Winchester, the whole building would go to Northwood, and then they would all shoot to East Middle and East Senior. And then 2/3 of Potters would, go to Allendale, and then they would stay on the west side.
So that, in essence, you grow into the correct numbers in the elementary.
No,
school.
I
It may
have
take
us,
3
I
years
have
to
us
do it.
moving again, and this is something that is, we need to talk about. I have those kids and their family members moving
From West Middle.
from West Middle and East. You know, if you're in West Middle and you're in one of those attendance zones from Potter or Winchester, you're headed to East Middle.
Okay, so you're moving
Yeah.
that property, that movie, okay, so that's how we're doing.
I'm sorry if I wasn't at that point, I'm sorry.
I just want to understand.
Yeah.
So there's kids physically moving from west to east, make movement west for the
Right,
kids.
so then we can do that 5-8 model.
And I will email out these proposals. I just want everyone to know, Lisa's proposals were like 4 pages long. So I just wanted to, because again, what we're gonna do is research the proposals now. So I was trying to get the gist out there, but I do apologize if I did not give her proposals the justice that they deserve. Okay, so I want to do one last call. We have 9 proposals on the table. Any other pros and cons that you want to throw out there?
We combine
4 and 5 and 7 and 8. So
My only concern with 11 is the UPK all being in one place.
Okay.
You know, we had talked about that with 10 also.
Yep.
okay.
I would say a pro to 11 would be leading off with Dan's position is that one fails with everything. It also brings up your concern of, people being split between 2 sides, 2 sporting events and things of that nature. So this, even though it is a tough conversation to uproot a family, not anything that, we're all sensitive to that, but at the same time, it's eventually those groups will graduate out and there won't be an issue. Much like our kids, they're going to graduate out, and we want to leave a lasting legacy of strength, financial strength, and security for our district. So.
And I think the thing too, just real quick, is for anybody that's affected by any of those buildings, their kids would need to move. Is that, as I was talking about it, I don't want it to seem that I wasn't being sensitive when I'm like, well, we move those 50 to 75. It certainly isn't that piece. We're trying to be sensitive. It's just,
we know Dan came in and moved them around and said this is just the way it's got to be. So.
He's got the gun, that's all I
Any other pros or cons for 1 through 11?
I got the muscle. You need the muscles there to.
Anyone?
To squash the.
Anything?
Squash the protest.
Last thing anyone wants to say about anything? Okay. So, what I want to do real quick, if I have someone who can not write like a 3-year-old in the room, anyone want to volunteer? No one? Literally no one's going to help me out? Everyone would jump up to help if Lisa was up here. But I'm not as pretty, I guess. Okay, what I just want to do real quick is just pull out some of the key things that we came up with from all the proposals, and then I would like to figure out how we're going to maybe figure this out. So, you want me to bring
dry erase?
Which? You want to write on this? Yeah. No? You want to write on that?
You need some markers?
You want a pen?
Oh, okay.
This moved out here.
You want me to bring it over here? Right? Apparently I pissed off Bob.
Ed, before you start, I just want to, I have to scoot out in about 10 minutes because I have to go pick up my daughter.
Okay.
So if someone can just take over and write so I can add it in later, I'd appreciate it if anybody can just email it to me. That'd be perfect.
I think Amy.
You volunteering, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. That was good.
Please repeat what I have to do.
So,
I'll do it. I just didn't hear it.
Real quickly.
Your laptop. You need to keep typing.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
I'm going to use a big word here. I want to extrapolate some of the better things that we got out of this. Okay, wait. First thing we have on here.
Okay. To go along with Ed's theme, I'm making a suggestion to put, from just eyeballing it, I saw taking all of these proposals and putting them into 4 broad categories. Don't write anything down, I'm going to read them off, okay? And please correct me if I'm wrong. So it seems like proposal 1, 10, and 11 closes Winchester and Potters. Proposal number 6 closes Allendale. Proposal 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9 just closes Potters. And proposal 8 and 9, which are just as like, let's redraw the lines. So that seems like the, in terms of if you're going to take broad categories.
Well, let me continue what I'm saying.
Sorry.
What I want to do is pull number 1. As a group, we all agree we want the district offices out of this building.
Right.
Number 2, as a group, we agreed we want. We agreed that we want 5th grade in middle school. Out of all these proposals now, is there anything else that we've established along the same lines Like, do we want to really consider UPK at each building? Do we want to consider her idea as a broad one that we're going to consider for all future proposals? Sir?
I think one thing we made a comment there is we would like to see more equity, not only in the population, but also in the programs offered across the district.
Okay.
So more closely equal sizes of school buildings.
Okay.
And then similar types of programs.
Fourth, Potter's is closed. Is there any proposal again that doesn't include that? So we're all basically agreeing.
Well, there was a redraw of lines, right?
Right. So what I'm asking though, as the committee, are we, do we want to have that as one of our main objectives of the proposals is closing Potter's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes?
Are there
Yes.
close Potter's and consider selling? How's that? Eric, is that okay? Consider selling?
Yeah, I got that. Close Potters?
Yes.
Do you have agreement? Yes.
So then, does that eliminate
That's what I'm
the
going to
three
say.
proposals that do not include closed
No,
Potters?
because what we're going to do is take the proposals now and we're going to come up with
Okay.
a few proposals out of all of these. We're going to come up with, again, and stop me if you disagree, what I want to do now is come up with three people who are going to basically sub-chair and work on a few of the proposals. So we can bring back the questions we need for the next meeting, all the things we want to look into. So let's say, Eric, you are going to chair the proposal that includes closing, like you said, 1, 11, and, 1, 10, and 11.
Because Lisa already did all the work, so I'm totally on board.
Right. So I just want to get out there though. If there's anything else, like, is there anything that came of this that we want to have considered as a very, very important thing? Yes, sir.
Save money to preserve program.
Save money to preserve program.
If possible, I do like Lisa's idea with the special ed, is if there is a way to.
And so that's what I'm asking as a committee. Do we want to have that as a main focus? Special ed in the one building. Do we all love that idea? Or no, speak.
No. Let's finish that conversation
No.
and then I'll jump in.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, as a committee, do we want to have that as one idea, no matter what we really look at, we want that as an idea? That's what I'm asking, yes or no?
My suggestion would be, well, if you do that, then what we're doing essentially is we're starting to eliminate these proposals right now based on
Again, this is not mandatory.
I know it's not
These
mandatory.
are something that we want
But,
to
but if we all strongly consider it as a group,
Yes.
then it becomes our value statement, and then it does
That's why I'm asking.
eliminate proposals.
Just asking
So,
because
yeah.
I missed something.
Oh, no,
What I'm looking for is common threads throughout the proposals that come to, closing Potter's is a very common thread.
Yes.
No surprise. Is there anything else that I missed? Like, we all fell in love with the UPK thing, but maybe one or two of us. Did we change our mind on it? Or do we want to still have both options? You know what I mean? And again, nothing's off the table. I'm just asking. Bob?
I'm not sure if we're ready to say that we want special ed in one building.
Okay,
Agreed.
then we don't.
I would say to strongly consider the value of it.
Okay, then we don't put it up here. So is there anything else that we want to have up here?
Closing Winchester. That was a common thread.
Closing Winchester?
Yeah.
No, ma'am. Do we want to, yes, no?
No?
How many?
Closing
How many
Winchester?
proposals was that
There was in
Three?
Three proposals had that.
Closing Winchester Elementary, not necessarily getting rid of the building. So what I'm trying to do is I just want to have this up here. Do we want to have that as 6th or not?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd like to see it once,
we
okay.
may need to do that to
Yeah.
balance.
Yes, we may need to do a lot of things,
Yeah.
just like the UPK thing. I just want to see if there's anything.
Eric, how many did they? You had them listed. How many
Three.
were had Winchester?
It's only in
closing?
3.
3 had closing Winchester and Potters, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9. 5 had closing Potters only. So it definitely is second. Let's see what happens.
But if we're breaking us up into committees, why wouldn't there be one committee that has just Potter's closing? One
We are.
committee
That's
that
what we're gonna
has
do now.
Potters and Winchester closing, one that has Potters and Allendale, because that's another school I heard closing. So if that's what, if those are the schools, or, are those the subcommittees we want to go in?
Yes, well, that's what I want to set up is the subcommittees. I'm hoping 3. I don't know if there's 3 volunteers who want to lead the subcommittees or not. Do I have 3 volunteers? Brian?
Aren't we just redoing what we just did here if we get into subcommittees?
Yes, but the subcommittees have to do a lot of work. Like Lisa did a lot of work. Corey did a lot of work. So what we want to do though is there's a lot of questions that we have to have ready for the next meeting. Not necessarily, and we're not meeting for how long?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So my opinion of having 3 subcommittees is like if Brian's in charge of it and a couple people want to be on the subcommittee, you guys can figure out a good time to get together, meet, come up with all the questions that we need to get answered, email them to me, and then I can make sure they go to the proper people so they can come prepared. These are not we're not accepting these proposals, we're not denying the proposals. I'm just trying to group them into less work because we all don't want to go research the same things. Like I saw how much work Corey did, I saw how much work Lisa did. We don't want to duplicate all that amongst every proposal.
Yeah,
so,
like my thought is that if we go through one of the proposals and as a subcommittee we could say, okay, equally distributing, we can then say, okay, this is how the enrollment is broken out now. Here's what the kindergarten is now. This is what it looks like in 5 years.
Right.
Here's what first grade looks like now, and here's where it goes in 5 years. So we can take the numbers that Brian gave us, and now in the subcommittee we can now break it down and say, okay, this is now doing this. This is what all the numbers equal out to be.
Correct.
You know,
And that's important because you start looking, and like we had talked about Potter Road and Winchester, for instance, funneling into Northwood. It can't happen. There's not enough room.
Right.
Like when you add them up, there's
So
there's too
basically
many
we're going to
kiddos.
take these 9 proposals and we're going to just break them all down more. I was just doing this for kind of, I don't want to say my own, but I wanted to find out if there was anything I'm missing. Again, what we agreed on all as a whole, obviously the people that are here. So I have 1 person so far volunteering. Anyone else, or should I send an email out asking for volunteers? Or I don't know if you're, I mean, some of the proposals were yours. I don't know if you're interested.
I think I'm just a resource for all the proposals.
Okay, you're a resource for all the proposals.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll help.
Corey,
Sure.
you were number 2, and Eric. I mean, I've come to look at you for so long. Eric, I can help, and Lisa, we can be here. I just didn't want to take on one group of my own, and Lisa and I felt we should be more. You know, if you're meeting, let us know, and one or both of us will try to be there. And Brian also as a resource. So if we have 3 chair people, how do we want to divide them up? Eric, your breakdowns were yes, no? What did you guys think of Eric's breakdowns? Did you want to, how do you guys want to divide these up? We've got 9.
Well, now that we have those things.
One of them is out.
Huh? Well, now that we have these things right here, if we all universally agreed on them, then do we make the conscious decision to do it like with you can do it too, Ed, but it's but for like closed Potters and consider selling, do we want to make the conscious decision right now to eliminate those ones that do not have closing Potters?
No, I don't think so. Oh wait, that eliminate close. But see, there's what I'm getting at is there's some good things in all of them.
There are good things in all of them.
I don't want to just eliminate the proposal.
Well,
Could we just say, okay, this is one subcommittee is going to look at this, just all that happening. And then we take all those things and add something else to the list. So another subcommittee is going to look at all those 5 plus we close Winchester.
What I don't want to do with the subcommittee is duplicate the work though.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, and this is just what I'm thinking, you broke it down. What are your breakdowns?
I said proposal 110 to 11.
Okay. So 110 to 11 would be 1 person.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
And then 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9 is another one that closes just Potters.
Okay. That would be another person.
Mm-hmm. Proposal 6 just closes Allendale.
Okay.
And then 8 and 9 redraws lines.
Okay, so 6, 8, and 9 would be another person.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that split up that way sound like it works for everyone? Yes? No?
Well, I think that the 3 main threads is one is only Potters closes.
Yeah.
One is Potters and Winchester closes.
Yep.
And then the third one is we redraw the lines and figure out where it shakes out.
Yeah, but that
I think those are the 3 avenues. Now, I don't think if you have one committee looking at just Potter's closing and one looking at Potter's and Winchester
You're
closing,
duplicating the
there's no duplication of work because you got 180 more kids with the Winchester closing.
Right.
And you're looking to say, well, how am I splitting these two pieces of it up?
Right.
So that's why I think that there's one there, and one that just says, let's blow the whole thing up right to start with, and we're coming out with something brand new, and this is how, you know, we're just gonna redo it.
Are you agreeing with me or disagreeing with me?
Those are the three I come up with.
And that's what we have broken down in those categories. So I'm on the fly here. Do we want to go with those three, or do we want to break it down a different way?
Aren't we redistricting whether we're saying that or not?
Yes. I just want to get some subcommittees together, getting more of this information, so we have these questions. We're not thinking of them at the next meeting as we're talking. That's my main goal of this. Now that we have 9 viable proposals, 6 viable proposals and 3 silly ones, or 10 viable, whatever. Now that we have a stack of proposals, I want to start getting the questions asked before the meeting. So, Brian, Eric, and Corey, how do you guys want to divide that up?
The one I'm most interested in is redistricting.
Okay, so you get You get 6.
Sorry.
And what numbers
Well,
are?
hang on.
6,
That
8,
was what I was
7.
gonna say. 6 closes Allendale and Potters. I almost feel like that should be clumped in with the other ones that close Potters and Winchester. Because if you're looking at completely just redistricting and closing nothing.
No, the redistricting ones are closing Potter still.
Yeah, redistrict still closes Potters.
Yeah. Again, which is why I got this up. We're going to try to apply these to the general.
But I think Lauren's bringing up the point. Does 6 close Potters and Allendale?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Proposal 6 closes Potters and Allendale.
So, Brian, is that what you're taking on?
Type of redistricting.
Because 6 sounds like it closes Allendale and Potters.
See, my thought is that closing, well, maybe I want to closing just Potters, because what my thought is just closing Potters, figuring out where the new line needs to be, and maybe repurposing Allendale, or taking that, because we brought that up as a potential way to, to do both, so you're not disrupting the pocket of the kids. So that was the proposal that I liked the best, was the one where we're closing Potters, we know that because there's a market, and maybe rather than closing Allendale, maybe that becomes East School and West L becomes the West School, and that's a way to solve the people right down the middle.
CORI.
So.
Okay.
So if that's just the closing Potters one, then that's the one that I would, what?
Proposal.
So if that's just the Potters one, then that's the one that I'll take. I don't know where that one falls.
I've got 9 proposals here. What numbers do you want? Numbers? Same outline. What?
1, 10, 11.
1, 10, 11.
2, 3, 4, 6, and 9.
2, 3, 4, 6, and 9. Pick any of the 9 that you want. Tell me the 9 that you want.
2, 3, 4, 6, and 9?
Well, 6, 7, 8.
No, pick any of them. Tell me the ones that you want to do, and we'll figure this out.
I thought we were doing the redraw the lines. He was doing redraw the lines.
Yeah. So that's 6, 8,
8,
and 9.
9.
8 and 9.
6, 8, 9.
6, 8, 9.
Yeah,
Cool.
both of those close, all those ones close Potters.
6, 8, and.
But it's a different approach because it changes everything.
So you got that, Brian?
Yep.
6, 8, 6, 7, 8.
Do we?
No.
Who wants 5?
Oh, I just gave him 5. You told me to give him 5.
5 is same as 4.
Yeah.
I had that crossed out the same as 4.
Yeah, same as 4.
Some of them were
4.
duplicates.
And then 7 and 8 are the same.
7, 8 are the
So
same.
Brian's
Okay, so we cool?
Yep.
So now, do you guys want to email out asking for people to help you tonight? Like send out an email?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Explain what you're doing. And send out an email asking for the whole committee.
Leaders could explain.
Yep. How's that? Cool?
Sounds good.
Anything else? When is our next meeting?
Our next meeting is August 21st at 7 o'clock. Now, just to let you know, I'm not sure how much of that is going to be a working meeting on this, because we're going to be having, it's going to be informational from the business office, the personnel office, and the curriculum office. The business office is going to touch on the savings that we're gonna get from the potential of closing a building. They're gonna also talk about what happens if you sell a building, the process and procedure and all that jazz. And personnel's gonna talk about if we were to close a building, how that would affect both monetary and the movement of people. And then curriculum is gonna talk about the 5-8 piece, just give us a little bit of information on that. And then also about the possibility, because of closing buildings, how that would improve program.
How can we talk about these things without having the dollar and personnel issues?
Well, it would seem, it seems to me that since we have all those presenters on the 21st, that gives those committees time to gather information, because I think your next meeting is September 4th.
Right.
So that
So it'll be
helps.
Here's real quick what I was thinking. What are the dates of meetings? August
21st and
Okay.
then September 4th.
Then?
September 4th.
Is that all we have? Okay. Our goal is to have a proposal for the school board by when? Multiple proposals.
The 1st of October.
1st of October, okay. So if before the 21st, now we have 3 weeks, if the committees get together and meet, the biggest thing is to come up with more questions than answers. Email them, we will get them to the people that are coming on the 21st so they have a better idea of what to address. Because there's no point in them coming and talking about what it's going to cost to close Northwood. There's no point in them coming to talk about what it's going to cost to close a high school. So this will help get the information more geared down to what we need. But on the 21st, we'll set our meeting dates for September, but I'm hoping the committees that have met once or twice in this meantime, again, keep us in the loop on it so we can figure out what's going on. But the questions you come up with, you're probably going to come up with a lot more questions than answers. But with your numbers, you may already have some answers. Like, it's never going to work to do nothing but sell, sell potters and redistrict. It won't work. Or it won't work to just take kids and put them, in the shed. Whatever the proposals are, you may come up with, you may right away look at the numbers and realize they're not going to work. Again, through Brian, Lisa, and myself, we can help coordinate that. I want to be completely prepared for the meeting. When these people walk in here, I want to have all the questions we need asked before they get here. We're going to think of some, but I want to have them ready so they're not spending their time on, again, how much is it going to cost to close Northwood.
The other thing is many of those things are going to be common threads again. For instance, what's it going to cost to move the district office out of here? Every proposal is going to have that in it. So, whether it goes to Ebenezer or it goes to Winchester, those were basically the 2 options of where we had it going. So there'll be a number. Okay. But it'll be through all of those proposals. It'll hit.
Yep. So any other questions or answers or comments or anything you want to throw at me?
I just want to go on record as saying that I don't think that any of these proposals are, there's something that's necessary for the district to remain strong. I don't think anybody by choosing a committee will be, one saying this is my more favored than other. I think we're just trying to do, from a logical perspective, what is going to be in the best interest of the district. And we all know that, again, one of the added benefits to our position is that we're just merely making a recommendation.
Yeah.
So, it's not good. We're not making any decisions, but at the same time, anything that we put forward, we should be able to, as a group, be able to defend it and stand behind it as to why we are recommending that.
I think that that's important, that we're going to want to be able to come to consensus for whatever the recommendations are that we give to the board, whether they're the recommendations that any of us put on here tonight or a different recommendation, something totally different. I think it's important that this group, through the process, that we feel that we're comfortable with that and presenting that. It may not necessarily come out to be our favorite thing, but it has to be something that we can live with and that we feel that we can go out into the community and sell.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to be able to stand behind it. Whatever decision it is, that's important for us to do. We can't be here and going, oh, that's great, and then walking out the door and stabbing.
Like, I can't believe Lisa
Right.
wanted to close Winchester. Yeah. Now, my understanding is, and I'm sure if there was a school board member here, they would correct me if I was wrong, we're giving the school board multiple proposals, not just one.
Correct.
Am I correct on that? So that's why I kind of were trying to vet this out. We need to give them, say, 3 proposals and have all the pros and all the cons. Because we're giving them, basically we're helping them make their decision. Whatever we tell them is what they're going by. They're not going to then form a committee and start researching all this from square one again. They're going to trust that we vetted a lot of the information. So I don't know if we're going to decide on a goal of a certain amount of proposals as it goes on, but we are giving them multiple proposals to choose from. We may take these 9 proposals and bring them down to 3. There may be 3 proposals. There may be 4, there may be 2. I'm pretty sure that they want more than 1 and more than 2. They need options so they don't, because if we just give them 1, then guess what? Either they're doing it or they're not doing it. And that's not, we need to act in October on something. And that I'm pretty sure is pretty much a given, right? So, and the one reason why I know that brief proposal was put in there was because they do need to act on something. So, again, I don't like necessarily looking like we're being rushed, but the time frame was moved up, as Lisa said a couple weeks ago, due to different reasons. But
I think sometimes though too, we could have gone on for months and months and months and months, and not, when you have a timeline, you feel the fire, and you get your.
I'm going to throw one more thing from here. You guys got to understand, when this timeline is done, we get to start looking at more of the fun stuff too, the stuff that's a lot of interest to all of us. So if you bear with us on it and do this cruddy headache work, we do start to look into instrument storage. I know how much you love that. And football usage and iPads for textbooks. We start to look at the stuff that we were very passionate about. So it's like when you get home, you get that math homework out of the way that maybe you don't like, so you get to do your science, or vice versa. So please don't I know everyone's got a headache and they're sick of hearing me talk, but don't let this rush dissuade you from continuing on with the committee. We've got a lot of great things ahead of us. And maybe every once in a while Brian will change up the chocolates and things will be great. Any other questions, comments, anything I can do for anyone? We cool? Do I have a gavel or something, Lisa? I've never done this before. No? Meeting adjourned? Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you.